How's it going? Strife here, and this is the walkthrough for TA Forward Forward. So TA Forward Forward is the middle difficulty path of this dungeon. Not as quick and easy as the up path, but it's probably a little bit easier overall than the Forward Forward path. So this first room, as you can see, it's the same for both the Forward Up and the Forward Forward path. We're just going to have to clear out 6 archers in here and then just clear the volatile blossoms on the way. Nothing too difficult overall. These archers die pretty quickly and they don't have anything that's too damaging. So for the forward path, one of the things that got changed in the January 28th patch is the fact that the last boss before the nightmare tree, Laurent, he got easier. He used to have 3 knights with him. Now he only has 1 knight and 2 other different mobs. So knights in this dungeon, they're the hardest mob. They're probably harder than some of the bosses as well even. They're pretty much just a hammer guardian, but they do insane amounts of damage as well as having that hammer knockdown. So that's what made them so difficult. But we'll get to that a bit more once we get to the boss. So once we finish off this last archer here, we're just going to go to the left doorway. This is the door you go through for the forward path once we get the path vote. So once we're through this door, it's a pretty short, easy run, just through the water and up a short pathway. If you've done TA story mode, we're going to go into the same room that you fight that like necro type boss that spawns a bunch of spiders that keep chasing you. So you can see a couple of nightmare vines, just gonna give this warrior swiftness. And then there will be 1 nightmare warder just at the entrance of the room, pretty easy to avoid overall. So once we get into this room, first thing you want to do, run to the back of the room just to release aggro from that warder. Then the whole mechanic of this room is you can see the little gear on my mini-map. Wherever that gear is located, like right here, is where you enter once you go through this portal. So you want to get inside these rooms using the portal to kill the 4 archers. If you all want to be in the same room, you can all enter the portal at the same time. Here you can see 2 of the warriors split up just to kill a different archer a bit faster. Since they are pretty easy, you don't need all 5 people. Once you kill the archers, you'll see that the reflective wall disappears. There I used renewed focus to actually walk through the wall. If you don't have that, instantly you will be downed when you touch the wall. But if you have an invulnerable move, something like renewed focus, warrior shield works, and anything else that gives you invulnerable frames, you can actually walk through that shield. So that was an example of that. So overall, as you can see, pretty easy event overall, and you get a chest at the end. And then again, you want to group up when running through the trash sections with the guardian leading the way to clear the blossoms. TA does have some pretty challenging trash runs, so you do need to be a bit more organized. Once we get around this corner, this is one of the harder sections of the trash run for this path. I'm going to use my stability and, as you saw in Aegis, and the Mesmer focus pulled as well. That group of mobs, they leap at you and they can knock you down, so you want to be sure to have things like stability, stun breakers, and make sure you try and dodge because it does a lot of damage as well. And then up here, we're just going to stick to the right side. You'll avoid most of the mobs. Those necro traps, for whatever reason, they don't put any conditions on you, or those marks, so they're not a big deal. And then again, once we get to the end of this trash run, the Mesmer will utilize the focus pull, and we'll just go in this room and clear the blossoms. I'm actually going to go try and save this warrior. So once you are in here, you just want to stick to one side of the room, like the left side where I am, because it makes it easier to clear the blossoms by staying on one side, just the area that you need to run. You don't need to run in the middle really. It makes it harder to clear blossoms on both sides with the staff. And then just like the forward up path, once we get to here, the nightmare pups are going to spawn, which you can just mow down while you run. The good benefit of these is if you have stacking sigils like Bloodlust or Perception, you can get your 25 stacks here. Alright, so at this point we were wondering where our other warrior was. As you can see on the minimap, there's someone back behind us. So we're going to fast forward it here just to show you him glitching out like a maniac. So we're going to fast forward a bit more in time here until he came back to us. That made us also realize the lack of waypoints in TA, which can be especially hard for pugs that are constantly dying on various TA paths. The only waypoint for this path is back at the very start of the dungeon, meaning if you were to die on this next boss, you would need to run back through the entire dungeon. Robert did say that they plan on adding more waypoints in the future, and this dungeon obviously is in dire need of that. So anyways, we are at the last boss before the nightmare tree. This is Laurent that I was talking about earlier. As you can see, I equipped the hammer. I'm going to utilize Banish and Ring Warding for some interrupts on the knight that comes with this group, because the knight again is the hardest mob. He has the leap interrupt as well as knockdown. So here our Mesmer is going to pull. We're going to LOS on this corner back here. I'm going to save everything for the knight. So it looks like the archer is coming first, who's just the archers we have been fighting already. Pretty easy overall. And then again, the cultist is pretty easy as well, nothing to worry about. So it looks like the knight and Laurent leash, so we're going to go grab them again. And I'm going to use my interrupts here, or attempt to use rather, before getting knocked down to burn him down. And then we're just going to time warp. And as far as Laurent goes, he is pretty much a great sword guardian. He's going to have a knockback, some pretty decent damage auto attacks, and then put some conditions on you as well. One of the other reasons why I'm using hammer here is because of the high protection uptime, which is pretty useful for this boss because he does hit a bit harder. And then of course having that guardian anchor is beneficial as well. So here we're just going to burn him down really quickly. Not too bad overall if you use the right skills and mechanics. So once that boss is done, pick up your chest and we are at the Nightmare Tree room, which again is the same boss for all three paths but has different mechanics for each path. So first thing you want to do for all three of the Nightmare Trees is wait until he does his Life Suck move before running into him and meleeing him. This version of the Nightmare Tree, he's the easiest to melee. He only has one mechanic. He doesn't even attack at all. All he's going to do is spawn veteran O-carts. These are the same O-carts that are out on the world map. So they have the same two moves. They're just going to do like a swipe auto attack and then a charge up move where they slam their hand into the ground, which knocks you back and does pretty significant damage. So you either want your Aegis, you want to dodge that attack, and stability or stunbreaker can be good if you do get hit. So here you can see we're just trying to cleave the veteran. At the same time we are cleaving the boss to DPS both of them down. At most 3 of these veterans can be up at one time, but you don't want to try and let them stack up to that level because it'll be harder to dodge their moves. So if you do have a high DPS melee group and you're focusing on cleaving the boss and the veteran, this one's getting a bit far, but you can keep that spawn down to a minimum. So there you can see I got hit by one of the interrupts. Does pretty decent damage. I did have protection on, which mitigates quite a bit, 33%. And then we are just going to finish off the last little bit of his health, and that will be it for the Nightmare Tree. You can see at the end here I got double crushed, which did pretty significant damage there. But hopefully this guide helped you out. Thanks for watching.